Hello, well, I'm back from Hyrox. Did the event at the Excel Centre November 2022, and it was tougher than I thought. Not done it before, done a lot of research, watched all the videos, did some training, and the whole thing took me about half an hour longer than I expected it to. So I don't know if I overestimated myself or underestimated the event. I thought my issue was going to be around leg strength and sort of squatting form and so on, but in the end my weaknesses were around my grip strength and my sort of shoulder muscular endurance. So just to run through what happened on the day, I got there nice and early, stayed in a hotel nearby, went and registered first thing in the morning, then left again, came back about an hour before my wave was due to start. Went with my boys, they took plenty of video and photos of me struggling around. It's really well organised, but my overriding impression when I first got there was the noise and how busy it was. Very hot and hectic, and much more intense sort of atmosphere than any running race, for example, that I've done. So there is a warm-up area. I spent a bit of time in there. Gave me an opportunity to have a look at the ski erg, which was a machine I'd not used before. Seems fairly straightforward to use, not necessarily I mean, it was easy to use, but not necessarily easy to use well. There's also, in the warm-up area, they've got sleds, so you can practice pushing the sled. Again, not something I'd done before, so that kind of gave me some sort of insight as to how heavy it was going to be, and it was heavy. So the event itself started in a wave, I think, of about 45 people. It's a mixed age wave, so you've got some people in your age category and loads of people that aren't, so there's no point really in trying to compare yourself with the people you start with. There on the day, in my I think there were nearly 5,000 athletes running throughout the day. So my wave started at 10 to 2 in the afternoon, and they go sort of every 10 minutes. So first thing was the first run. I deliberately took it easy. I went out just under 5-minute kilometres pace, which is, you know, sort of brisk but not anything very comfortable for me, and that was my plan throughout. Into the first station, which was the ski erg. So first I used it was in the warm-up area about half an hour before. Deliberately took that easy because everything I'd heard says, you know, take the first couple of runs easy, and make sure you take the ski erg easy, treat it as a warm-up, because there's much harder things to come. So I was pretty slow on the ski erg, but I felt fine afterwards. Out into the second run was comfortable, again just under 5 minutes for that, and then into the sled push. Now that was tough, that was really tough. I got nice and low, as low as I thought I could. The shoes I was wearing, which were the Saucony Fast Twitch 9s, they were absolutely fine, plenty of grip. My limitation was around my strength and lack of body weight, and I did move it, that was the main thing. It took me quite a long time. It's 50 metres, it's 12.5 metres there and back, and yeah, got through it in the end with my calves and hamstrings in a pretty painful way, but it wasn't too bad. It was about as bad as I expected it to be. And then the next run was a bit tougher, but again just over 5 minutes per kilometre, and then into the sled pull. Now everything I'd read said that you should try and save your legs on this if you can, because the legs are what are going to suffer later on with accumulation of sort of wear and tear. So I tried pulling the sled just with my arm strength, and I've managed about 2 meters before I realised that wasn't going to happen. So I then just kind of gripped onto it and started walking backwards, and I managed to do that. What I hadn't anticipated was the amount of grip strength required just to do that, even if when you're keeping your arms still. It's a big thick rope and it really burns your forearms, or at least for me anyway, and I think that's definitely something I need to work on, because by the end of it, although I mean I did complete it, but by the end of it my hands and my forearms were absolutely numb. So after that, into the next run, not too bad. And then it's the burpees. They were really strict on the form on the burpees. I did listen to the judge who was talking to us right at the start, and I tried my best to keep form, and I wasn't picked up on any issues. You've got to keep your hands, when you drop down, you've got to keep your hands close to your feet. And I do understand that they've really clamped down on it now compared to previous events where you could get away with all sorts. Having said that, when I look at the video back, I can still see people taking sort of little hops forward after they've jumped up, so clearly pinching a bit here and there. I didn't notice that at the time, I've only noticed it afterwards when I looked back on the video clip. So, but clearly there is, they could probably do a bit more still. So the burpees were, sort of disgusting, as you would imagine. Everyone knows what a burpee is. The difference is it's a burpee broad jump, so you've got to kind of do a leap forward as well. 80 meters. I mean, I wasn't fast, but I wasn't the slowest. It was okay. It's okay as could be expected, really. Into the next run, you are feeling fatigued. Well, definitely feeling fatigued by that point. And then it's into what was next? The row. Into the row. So a rowing machine I used a few times in the gym. I'm not fast on it, but I deliberately took it fairly steady on the basis that you have to put in quite a lot of extra energy just to be a little bit faster, if you see what I mean. So I was slow, but I came out of it kind of feeling like I preserved my legs as much as I could, but I could still really feel my arms. They were kind of painful. So just gripping onto the hand. Then onto the farmer's carry. This is where you have to carry 2 24 kilogram cast iron kettlebells around a 200 meter course, and it's actually the one I was least worried about. I've done lots of kettlebell work over the last few years, not normally with ones as heavy as that, admittedly, but I felt confident. I hadn't done any particular training for the farmer's carry or anything like that. I thought it was going to be perhaps 3 minutes, kind of a brisk walk with them, and that would be it. As it was probably my worst station, or my joint worst station. It was absolutely horrendous. I could not, after the first 30 metres, I could not hold on to that kettlebell with my left hand in particular. It was, my hand and my arm were numb, and it would not hold on. Whatever I did, I just couldn't grip it. And every few metres I was having to stop, or I was almost dropping it. And it actually took me 9 minutes, about 6 minutes longer than I anticipated, and I was stone dead last in my age category on that one. It was horrendous. To say the judge was really encouraging, kept on kind of suggesting, like, shaking my arms out and trying to rub my hands against the soles of my shoes to try and get the sweat off and that kind of thing, which did help to an extent. But yeah, it was horrible. I did not enjoy it. A couple of times on that I thought I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to give up. But glad I didn't, and it was such a relief to get onto the run after that. Yeah, the run felt nice and easy, but again my arms were absolutely killing. Lunges, the sandbag lunges, and I practiced quite a lot with these at home. I have bought myself a 20 kilogram Hyrox spec sandbag, and it went better than I thought. I had both my knees strapped up, so I was really worried. I had some knee pain, particularly my right knee, when running recently. Because you're allowed to put knee sleeves on, so I thought I'd make the most of that, and I actually did both, and it kind of made me a bit more confident. My kneecaps weren't going to pop off when I was doing it. So actually that wasn't too bad. I finished reasonably well up, kind of halfway up, I think, in my age group. In that one is probably one of my better events. Then it was into the next run, which was much slower. You get a lot of fatigue in your legs after doing lunges. Not a lot you can do about that. I'm up towards sort of, I think, 6.5, 7 minutes for my last kilometre. Then onto the wall balls. Well, everyone says the wall balls are horrendous, and they're not wrong. I was awful at the wall balls. I think I was as bad as on the wall balls as I was on the farmer's carry. It was after about the first 3 or 4 reps, which were fine. The first 3 or 4 reps were actually good. At that point, I was either missing the target altogether, not reaching the target. I was falling about. I had to ask for the box, which is you can have a box if you're not sure if you're reaching the depth. The judges will pick you up if you don't reach the depth. You have to go back below 90 degrees when you squat. And I wasn't sure whether I was. I'd done quite a lot of mobility work recently because I had been struggling with those in training, and I think I was better than I used to be, but the box kind of helped. But what I ended up doing was kind of sitting on the box for a rest, and the head judge came over and told me I couldn't do that. You're not allowed to sit on the box. If you're going to have a rest, you have to kind of stand or squat down. But every time you do that, you then have to reset completely. So you have to go in a standing position with the wall ball, and then you start your next rep. You can't start the rep from the ground, kind of thing, which is fine. I knew that already, but it was just the general fatigue, my shoulders. I was really struggled to reach the 10-foot target. I'm a bit of a short arse, and I was finding myself jumping in the air just to try and get the height. And again, although my personal judge was fine, didn't seem to have a problem with it, one of the head judges came over and told me I was not allowed to jump, and both feet had to be on the ground at the same time, which was news to me. Now, I'm not saying it's good form to do it or good technique, but it was the only way I could get through them. And I subsequently had a look at the rule book, and there's nothing in there about that, so I'm not sure if that was right really. But anyway, that's kind of, I'm not making an excuse. So it took me 16 minutes. So I've got another one of these events booked in May, and that's obviously got to be one of the things I've got to work on, my form for that. Overall, I was pleased to finish. I was disappointed with the time, and I know you shouldn't be looking at a time on your first one. It should be a benchmark, but you can't. I couldn't help myself kind of thinking I can do it. I thought I'd do it in about 90 minutes. And it took me just over 2 hours. The running was fine. As the one bit, I was probably, reasonably good compared to the rest of at least my age category, kind of up there in the top sort of 25%. But all the strength stuff, apart from perhaps the lunges, I was well into the bottom half, towards the bottom. So I've got so much to work on. But overall, it was, whether I'd say I enjoyed it at a time, probably not. Enjoyed finishing. Amazing atmosphere, great challenge, put me out of my comfort zone completely. but it's kind of, I feel quite motivated now, a week on, to kind of crack on and do some proper kind of focused exercises. I know where my weak points are, which is around my grip strength and muscular endurance, upper body muscular endurance. Those are the things I've got to work on, and then at the same time maintaining my sort of running. So yeah, I hope you've found that interesting. Check out the other YouTubers looking at doing Hyrox, probably at a more competent level than me, or definitely at a more competent level than me, but I thought you might be interested in seeing this sort of warts and all, what it's like to do Hyrox at the kind of slower end of things. All right, cheers for now, bye.